Chief Garcia. Good evening, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So obviously the weather is breaking. We've been really busy, but we've had some very positive things going on. So I will tell you that the officers have been conducting still their proactive details throughout the city of Bridgeport. I will tell you that in March alone, the task force officers alone took 18 guns off the street, 3 of those being assault rifles. And that's amazing work. Last night, during the C shift, which is the 4 to 12 shift, the C shift officers, one right after the other, 2 firearms off the street, no injuries, no further incident. So they're out there, they're doing a really great job. They're visible. We have the strategic enforcement detail happening in some of our hotspot areas. I'm making sure that our command staff is looking at and analyzing the data that we are able to acquire regarding call volume and areas where there are shots being fired. Another thing that I wanted to share with you all is I had the command staff week before last week, we all went and walked in our neighborhoods. So I had captains, the deputy chiefs, they were all walking out in different areas throughout the city. That was on Wednesday for an hour when we usually have our command staff meetings, just to get reacquainted with the community, just so that the community can see our faces, express their concerns and formulate a relationship with the top layer of the department. I think that is key. I think that it is essential, and we're going to continue to do that. Not every week, but we're going to make sure that we continue to do that. And I will say also that we kicked off our recruitment advertising campaign. We had over 100 people sign up since the advertisement campaign. We have had our recruitment team out. They were in Hartford at a fair where New Haven, Waterbury, Bridgeport, and I think it was Hartford was the 4th one. They were all out there trying to recruit officers. We are looking to offer a test in the month of June of this year. We have been putting out information. During my walk, I went to East Main Street, and I also, the evening before that, was walking out at the Green Homes community. We were handing out flyers. They were putting them up at the businesses, which I think it's the best way, right? They see the face, they talk to you, they ask you the questions. And I think that was an excellent way of doing that. The recruitment team has been out on Main Street. They were on Hartford. They were on Trumbull Avenue the other day. And they have been actively trying to move people and engage them into becoming a police officer with the Bridgeport Police Department. One of the things that I also have been doing is putting out our mobile command center in different areas throughout the city of Bridgeport for officer visibility, for officer engagement. We don't just want to go and put something out there. We want to be able to engage the community, listen to their concerns, and have an open rapport. We had successfully, the Detective Bureau has arrested 2 parties in 2 different homicides as well this month. They're working hard. They're working focused on getting the threats off the street so that we can make our community safer. I also had a Project Longevity call-in with our Project Longevity team and our law enforcement officers that went very well. We had approximately 50 attendees via Zoom and approximately 30 persons in person and 12 persons of interest where we were able to offer them resources available to them and the opportunity to sign up for help. So I think that's also kicked off very well. My next goal is to have a juvenile outreach, which is very similar to a call-in, but is not a call-in because that's not covered under Project Longevity. So from the Bridgeport the Police Department, we're going to have a juvenile outreach. We have partnered with parole, probation, with our state's attorney from juvenile court, and we're moving to make sure that we engage with our juveniles so that they know that there is a different path, especially for those that are getting involved in things that will impact them negatively. So tomorrow we are ready to present. Lieutenant Cotto and I will be presenting to the council our budget for this year, our upcoming budget. And we have dedicated a lot of time, a lot of efforts to be able to make the presentation as explicit as possible, letting the council know the efforts that we have put forward, where we can utilize some help, where we can enhance our department as a whole, not only for the betterment of the department, but for the community as well. With that being said, that's short, brief. I don't want to hold you all, but I do want to be able to share the recruitment video with you all, if you would allow me. It shows that we're looking for diversity. It represents a lot of the officers, a lot of the faces that we have here, from officers as young as being 3 years on the job to officers that actually can retire that are still with us. And I think that that's a plus. So if you would allow me to show that to you all, I would really appreciate that.
Very good.
Thank you. Carly, we don't have sound. We're just making sure that we have sound on the video so that you guys get the full effect and impact.
So I was raised on the east side of Bridgeport.
I was born and raised in the city of Bridgeport. Born and raised here in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Still have family all over Bridgeport.
I grew up in Bridgeport. I went to Bridgeport schools.
We got the sound, but not the video.
Sergeant Carly.
Just a little bit better.
So I was raised on the east side of Bridgeport.
I was born and raised in the city of Bridgeport. Born and raised here in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
I still have family all over Bridgeport.
I grew up in Bridgeport. I went to Bridgeport schools.
I graduated from Central High School. I did track and field at Central.
When I started having my kids, it's like one of those things like, how can I make this planet just a little bit better? Even if it's just for them or somebody else's child. If I can do that, then that would be great and that would be fulfilling for me.
Just always wanted to do a job where I felt like I was saving someone or I was giving something more of myself to someone else.
Getting into law enforcement was a big change in my life, from coming from the medical field as an EMT. I'm kind of like a law enforcement / counselor.
My shift usually begins with calls immediately. It's a very busy post, so we try and make sure that we do our calls, but then also we get out, talk to people in the community while we're not on a call.
What I like most about my shift is if I can teach a new officer something new, it's going to make their life a little better or easier, especially on the road when they go on their own. That's fulfilling, very fulfilling.
The shift in my life began when I saw children at my church that needed help, and although the church was there to help them, there needed to be extra. And so I decided, well, how could I be the extra, right? And the extra was touching the community, getting in touch with those families, working with those families. And again, this job gave me the opportunity to reach those families, come into those families' homes and help them out with whatever their issues were.
Becoming a police officer, not only did it kind of like stabilize me more financially, the rewards, not just money, but the people that come up to you and thank you on a regular basis. These are opportunities and grateful opportunities that you get once in a lifetime.
So training and preparation was intense. I won't lie about it. It was an experience, something that I wasn't, at the time I thought I was prepared for, but found out that no, maybe you weren't prepared as you thought you were. However, The staff did a magnificent job in preparing us for what this job brings and what it entails.
I think we all kind of went into it, this is gonna be like an old 80s military movie. It's gonna be like a cool soundtrack in the background. We're gonna be PTing all day. And then, we're running. But honestly, it's really much more academic than people realize. It's like a fast track college course. You're spending the majority of your day in class. So really having that focus and really buckling down. I mean, it's not just a career, it's a lifestyle.
We basically have study group almost every night because the class is not that easy. Everyone may think, hey, coming into academy, oh, it's a piece of cake. It is not. You have to have a determination, you have to have a goal, and you have to drive and push yourself.
You're gonna do a lot of physical training. You're gonna do a lot of academics too. The academics are the most important part.
So to potential cadets, I would say to go for it. They can definitely do it. If I did, I know they can. And just encourage them to be the difference that they want to see in their community.
You have to look at yourself, just even beyond just being a police officer. One day, would you want to be a detective? Would you want to be a supervisor? This is the beginning. This is it in the beginning.
A lot of times when I ask somebody, why do you want to be a police officer? Of course, you can have different answers. The one I'm looking for is I generally want to help people.
You have to have integrity, you have to be honest. You really just need to make sure you're not doing this job to make yourself look good, because at the end of the day, you're here to help people, and you can't do that if you're not forthcoming and honest.
And it's always about your honor, your integrity, and your character. You gotta have them. The whole thing at the end of the day is 85% of the people you deal with, you gotta take care of them. You're kind of looking out, It's a people job. It's always been that for me. I've worked in some of the toughest parts of Bridgeport, and I can tell you this, they are some of the most wonderful people you'll ever meet. Good people.
Anybody who has that kind of inkling in their soul where they're like, oh, I think I want to try it, do it. Because what's the worst that's going to happen? You try it, you don't like it, there's nothing wrong with that. But, if you do like it and you enjoy it, you could be that person to make a difference in somebody else's life.
So community policing looks like us, members of the community working for the community. Right? The best way to understand your community is to have been part of the community. And I'm not saying that others that come in from other communities or other, cities don't or cannot do this. However, it touches home when you're from the actual community that you're serving.
Community policing is when you go out there, you form that connection with the people that you're serving. My partner and I, we're in the green home, so we make it a point to get out of the car, speak with the kids, talk to their parents, stop by the parks and just make that connection, reach them on a human level to remind them that we're just people too. We're just here for you.
People look forward to you as a police officer to handle whatever they call for. We respond to your situation and we have to be ready for whatever the call may be.
At the end of the day, we're not here just doing a job. We're walking into the worst time of people's lives, and in the 2, 3, 4 minutes that we're there, we're trying to make 20 years of problems kind of get to the point where they're able to get through the day, the week, the month, and if you don't have that compassion, then you're not really truly able to help anybody.
I'm passionate about the job that I do. I have pride in taking guns off the street. I take pride in getting drugs off the street, and I also take pride in fostering relationships with the community.
I'm super excited because it's a dream come true to me, and I want everybody else to experience the same thing. So if you're thinking about it, go for it.
My name is John S. Perry.
Antonio
Milka
Moya.
Rodriguez.
Antoine Cistro.
Katima Ritchie.
Erica Alestis.
Amanda Gonzalez.
And my shift began with the Bridgeport Police
And I made a
Department.
shift to the Bridgeport Police Department.
And my shift began with the Bridgeport Police
And I made
Department.
the shift to the Bridgeport Police
And my
Department.
shift began in the Bridgeport Police Department.
When does your shift start?
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 Make the shift to Bridgeport Police Department.
Make the shift with the Bridgeport Police Department.
Thank you, Joel. So that's our video for advertisement. We've been utilizing those. I met with clergy members of the community in the city of Bridgeport. They want me to go out there and share that with their houses of worship as well. And we're excited. We're excited about this drive. We know that we have the potential, we have the drive to bring people to the city of Bridgeport, and I'm looking forward to it. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
Any commissioners have any questions? At first, they very well put together video. That was very well done. I wanted to touch on a couple of things quickly, if I can. What can you tell us about the recent incident, Chief, where the officers found the body on the side of the house?
So that's still it's still ongoing. So we had a preliminary, it was a search warrant execution, but it is an ongoing matter. So I really can't discuss too much of that. But I did receive documentation from the state's attorney's office, Joe Corradino, and the investigative body sergeant, indicating that they wholeheartedly believe, based on the information that they received and the video footage that they did see, that they were not culpable of.
Thank you. The other thing I wanted to mention, we talked a little bit last month about between the dirt bikes and the quads and the groups that go around and wreak a little havoc. And I know there was an issue as to when these bikes are impounded. We didn't have a location to store them, and I understand, Chief, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the location behind the animal shelter is just about available, and Lieutenant Grech would be the person who is going to be in charge of making sure it's equipped with the proper fences, cameras, whatever. But that's supposed to start relatively soon.
Yes, sir. So we are looking at acquiring the property so that we can safely store the equipment that is towed or impounded. And I am being told that by the end of this month, the area will be vacated so that we can start putting up the equipment that we need to maintain it as a safe storage location.
Okay, very good. Thanks. Any of the commissioners have any other questions? No? Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all. Have a great day.
You too.
Lieutenant O'Donnell, is there anybody from the union with us this evening?
I don't see anyone on our meeting, and I was not notified, Commissioner Roach.
All right, we can always go back to it if need be. Next item is the Internal Affairs Report. And for the record, Commissioner Farrow is with us now.
Bye. Hello.
And then,
What do you say?
unless there's no questions, we can move on to the clerk's report on the status of pending matters. Lieutenant?
I'd like to set up, if possible, a second step Barrows hearing for early May. I have 3 citizens that would like to exercise their second step Barrows rights. So I will send out something tomorrow. We do have the conference rooms available to us at City Hall Annex. Unless noted, how does the first or second week of May work for your schedule?
Fine with either. We're talking, but preferably on a Tuesday, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It will be 6 p.m., in our conference rooms. And as I said, I do have 3 citizens. So we'll plan for that. And then I'm just waiting to hear on the attorney for our other Barrows cases. And once that's established, I'll be sending out dates for those cases that we have on file.
As far as the second step meeting, the first Tuesday of May is okay with everybody?
I think that would be okay.
Okay.
If that would be May 4th, commissioners?
May 4th.
Yep.
And that's all I have. It's really just to get us back doing, with our discipline hearings. And I will be sending emails, to you regarding dates and times.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we have nothing under special reports. We'll move on to new business. And we have the first item is a request from Councilmember Anita Martinez to address the board regarding a traffic request for a stop sign at the corner of Wilmot Avenue and Alex Street. Councilwoman, are you there?
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Yes.
Okay.
So I am requesting, at the request of the constituents of the East Center Bridgeport, along with the members of English Chapel Church, which is right at the corner, to install a stop sign. The traffic down that road is just crazy. I mean, the cars fly down that street like it's a highway. There's kids that are out playing on the sidewalks, riding their bikes. Individuals getting in and out of their cars to leave their residence, and the street is not, it's wide, but it's not that wide for two-way traffic to be flying up and down the street. So I'm requesting a stop sign at right at the intersection of Wilmot and Alex Street.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Hi, Anita. How are you?
Good.
Good. Quick question. Is that the street that's like halfway in the block?
Yes, it's like right in the center. It actually crosses right into the front of English Chapel Church.
Wow, I'm amazed that it hasn't had a stop sign there. I know the street. I always, for the life of me, I thought it always had one. Okay.
So I actually took the time after receiving phone calls from constituents as well as church members. I took the time to sit there for maybe about a good half an hour. And I can't even begin to tell you the way that they fly up and down that street is crazy.
We spoke about this a little bit earlier, Lieutenant O'Donnell, myself, and this request was submitted to the city traffic engineer a couple months back. We haven't heard from him as of yet, but talking about this particular corner, Lieutenant O'Donnell recalls the issue there, and she agrees that the traffic could be on a dangerous side. We're talking. You saw a lot of speeders, I would imagine, when you sat there for your half an hour, Nada, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. I would suggest it, and to my fellow commissioners, that we go ahead and approve this request to get things moving a little quicker. I'm anticipating a favorable response from the city traffic engineer, regardless. But if it's okay with the board, I would entertain a motion to go ahead and approve this request.
Commissioners, if I may, I just want to reiterate that we are requesting a three-way stop. And if that is with your approval as well, Councilmember Martinez, it would be a three-way intersection, three-way stop.
Yes, it will be, Lieutenant. And I thank you all the commissioners, for looking into this matter and taking it very seriously, because hopefully no one will get hurt. I mean, even with a stop sign, people do fly through stop signs, but at least they'll see it'll slow down the traffic. So I appreciate you all. Thank you so much.
We have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Diaz. Is there a second?
Aye.
That's been seconded by Commissioner Cuminato. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, passes unanimously.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach, and have a good night. And I'm glad to be back.
It's good to hear from you, at least, if not see you.
All right, take care.
All right, take care now. Next item under new business is request from Lieutenant Cotto for review and approval of policy procedure general order 3.07 firearms, 5.10 securing prisoners, 6.12 narcotics investigations, and 8.17 periodic mental health assessment. Lieutenant Cotto, good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners. Do you have a specific order you want me to go in, or I could go in the order that you read them off? Probably be easier. I'm assuming that's how you have your paperwork set up.
Yeah, it works for me.
So the first one up is policy 3.07. This is a policy that was previously approved by the board. I got a recommendation from the firearms instructor to add additional line in there regarding training. I actually highlighted it for your convenience on page 5, and it has to do with modifications. Previously, our policy said that the firearms instructor or the chief of police would approve any modifications, but we never had the officers actually train with the modification. So for example, on your firearm, if you wanted to change the gripping to make it more comfortable or to make it easier to grab, we never mandated that the officers actually train with it before they go out in the field. So I think this is a safety thing, and we're adding additional safety in there to say that the officers shall qualify at the first available training session once a modification has been approved. Do you want me to go through all of them, or are we going to go one by one?
Unless the other commissioners have issue with it, if you wanted to go through all, and if a question does come up on a particular item, maybe we should address it though.
Okay.
And there's no other changes with this particular policy, correct?
No.
Okay. I'd say move on then.
Okay. So the next one is policy 5.10. It's securing prisoners. Once again, I highlighted the language change. So if you go down to, I believe it's the last page. It's page 25, the last page. It has to do with multiple arrest and group holding. So as I began the process for reporting for accreditation, our narcotics and vice building, we have a holding room. And inside this holding room, I'll try to draw a picture. It's like a square cage. They hold prisoners in there to be processed. So in order for this not to be considered a temporary detention facility, we have to have the officer monitor face to face. If not, it falls under the definition of a temporary detention facility, which will trigger about 25 more policies and things like immediate access to bathrooms, having a sink, which the narcotics and vice building is not equipped for. They do allow the detainees in there access to a bathroom and a sink. There just necessarily isn't one in that room along with a bed. So it's more of a holding area until they go to Brooklyn where they're formally processed. So in order for us to allow, have this room and to be compliant with accreditation standards, there has to be face-to-face monitoring of any detainees.
Was this something that just wasn't in the policy that was practiced in the past?
It wasn't in the policy because we didn't really know that having to fall within this. So now that, you know, we're practicing the latest and greatest standards recommended by the state, this is one of the standards that has to be in compliance. Okay, if there's no questions for 5.10, I'm going to go over to 6.12. And this one has two changes. The first one is on page 2. And it previously said the officer in charge shall appoint a supervisor to oversee and coordinate the efforts involved in narcotics and vice, organizational crimes, investigations. I changed the language to the chief of police because the chief of police actually does the appointing. I don't want to say it was an error, but it could have been something that the previous chief delegated, but we put the language back where it should be. So the chief of police shall appoint the supervisor and any supervisor in narcotics and vice. And then the second change is on the next page under number 9. And this has to do with training for our narcotics team. This is another accreditation standard that we became aware of once we started reporting. So if you guys remember in the beginning, we said that we will be constantly updating our policies to make sure that we are in compliance with the state's recommendations. So this is one of the state's recommendations that we're upgrading our policies. And it says that the narcotics team will train annually as a team. I put down some general areas and I left it open just in case there's some new training trends or something comes up that they need to be trained in. They're not limited to just the list. And that's it for those 3. Now, policy 8.17, this is a brand new policy, and it has to do with the Connecticut Police Reform Acts. One of the reforms is that the police department shall send 20% of the department for mental health screenings. And this language came directly from POST. So we can't start practicing until our policy is approved. This is going to be one of those mandates where us as a larger department may get hit harder financially than some of the smaller departments. Because I can tell you that there's approximately 75-ish officers that will be getting sent for this mental health assessment annually. And obviously this number fluctuates on the total number of officers in the department.
If it's less than every 5 years, and which would mean when needed, who would determine that a particular officer would have to go for an evaluation?
So every 5 years, if you do the math, 20% of that that came up with sending 20% of the department. Obviously, we could send more, but if more would be a financial burden. So the chief of police will select which officers will go.
I don't mean having officers go more than 5 years, but if something occurs where the chief might feel that an officer may need to be evaluated and after 2 years, let's say, is that something that could take place?
So that's covered under our sick policy where, if there's some type of trauma or if the officer's behavior that necessarily is not in line with the Bridgeport Police Department, the chief does have the authority to recommend what's called a fitness for duty evaluation. That's separate, and that might be more intensive than what they're doing over here. This is going to be more of a structured assessment where if you went through it and I went through it and I didn't get the same type of assessment you got, there might be grounds for some type of complaint or grievance, because that's the nature of having a union and treating everybody the same. So these assessments are going to be structured, and obviously they'll be based on answers that are provided. And if something does happen to go into a dangerous situation, on page, I believe it's page 2, it says that the chief of police will be notified. If something comes up that raises a flag that the chief of police may need to know, such as a safety concern or maybe some type of substance abuse where, we need to get help. Other than that, I don't have anything else. If anyone else has any more questions.
I have a question, if it's okay, Danny.
Please.
And so I'm just trying to figure out, because I was listening to what Commissioner Roach was saying, and I was trying to understand how to make sure that this thing is not abused. I mean, it's bad enough as every 5 years, right? And to the extent that the chief can make a decision to send someone for a fitness examination or whatever you refer to it as, that's one thing. But is there any way to kind of make this more random so certain officers don't? I guess my concern is I can see this becoming an issue ripe for a lawsuit if it starts getting used in a way that's just kind of too free and too. I mean, it doesn't matter that we have our chief now, but chiefs change, and part of the reason we even exist as a board is because of that business by the department, more importantly, the chief. So how do we make sure that this is a fair system and it doesn't get abused by?
So I do understand your question, and I'll kind of put it side by side to like our drug policy, where we do have random testing. So if I was selected for random testing today, just because my number came up, there's a possibility that I can get selected again tomorrow. But this is separate because you only go once every 5 years. So if I get selected today, they have to go through the rest of the department before they get back to me. So you're going through this once every 5 years. So if I got chosen today, I probably won't go again until April 20th, 2026, unless the number in the department declines, where I might go sooner. But the language in here says once every 5 years.
All right, and is that the standard?
Yes, that's language directly from Post.
And so is it your assertion that if it's random, you necessarily would be chosen more than once, or would you be pulled out of the bag, so to speak? I mean, there's a way to be random and then pulled out. And
there's a possibility that you could get chosen more than once in the 5 years, yes, if it's random. But
what I'm saying to you is if it's random, like for instance, when I was in law school, it was random. The instructor put all our names in a bag. He twisted everything around, he pulled the name out. Once our name was pulled, our name was set aside. We weren't put back in the bag. So when you say
so that's not random. That's a convenience random.
That's what?
That's called a convenience random, where your selection pool is getting smaller and smaller after every name's getting pulled out. So
Right.
random is that you can get tested today and you can get tested tomorrow, and it's just the luck of the name coming out of the hat.
Well, I'm not necessarily opposed to that either, but I don't see why you can't do the other one either. I don't know why they're mutually exclusive, I guess is my question.
Yeah, like I said, the chief has the authority to create whatever system the chief wants to create for selection. But it wouldn't be considered a random selection. It would probably be more of a convenience random where, like I said, the selection pool shrinks every time somebody's taken out. That's the chief's discretion of how, she wants to choose who will get tested and who will not get tested. The only problem with that is the convenience of trauma. Where she won't have the discretion because 5 officers got into a traumatizing event last night. Well, she could take advantage of this program and send them for a mental health screening because there might be some type of PTSD or something that can get caught. But she won't be able to do that if there is no language in there that says it has to be random.
Hold on, time out. It sounds like you just interjected something else in there that wasn't part of the original conversation. So I thought the chief automatically has the ability to go in and call an officer and fitness if she suspects or he suspects that.
So talking about 2 different things. We're talking about
right.
Fitness for duty evaluation, where the officer would have to show signs or some type of distress or something where we would have to prove that the officer needs a fitness for duty evaluation versus where we are mandated to send 20% of our department every 5 years, apples and oranges. For example, the first one, if the officers got into a traumatizing event, and I'll take myself for example, I got into a use of force situation where I had to use my firearm, and I was perfectly fine when I went to the hospital. They took my blood pressure was fine. My partner, his blood pressure was screaming through the roof. If you looked at both of us, looked perfectly fine. Had they not tested him, they would have never known his blood pressure was screaming through the roof. Now, we didn't show any signs that we needed a fitness for duty evaluation. However, the chief could have set us up for our every 5-year evaluation and at least gone and talked to somebody, because we have to test 20% of the department every 5 years. I think it's a tool for the chief to have in their belt, to not only to maybe catch some things that have been underlying or sitting with certain people so that we can get the officers the help that they need if they do need it.
Ed, anything else?
Oh, I understand. I understand the example you gave. And like I said, it doesn't have to do with any specific or one chief. Any of these policies we create or any of these rules we create, we have to be thinking long term down the road. And it's always I'm always concerned about rules or policies that are created that lend themselves to abuse.
Absolutely.
And so that's what I'm concerned about. So I just wanted to raise that.
Any of the other commissioners have any questions with any of the other policy changes? Is there a motion to approve Lieutenant Cotto's request?
So moved.
Is there a second? Seconded by Tom.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion's passed. Thank you, Lieutenant.
Thank you very much. I just want to give you a quick update on the program. Policy 6.12, now that it's been approved, actually these three. This concludes a portion of the project that I was assigned. We have an assessment, what's called a mock assessment, scheduled for next month. Once we go through the mock assessment, we will be formally assessed by the state and eventually approved for Tier 3 accreditation. That's the entry level. Eventually, you go 3, 2, and then 1. So we are on track to be compliant with the Connecticut police reforms. I like to say that, this was a goal of the department before Connecticut police reforms. So having a start so that this project is going smoothly, and we actually passed some of our peers departments that started before us. So Post is very excited because they have the opportunity to say we got Bridgeport, one of the largest departments in the state, accredited. It helps out for some of the smaller departments. So thank you for your efforts reading some of these policies. I know it's dry and tedious, but it's a necessary, and it keeps us honest as police. So thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Good night.
Good night.
Hey, Lieutenant.
Okay, moving forward, nothing under old business.
I have one. I'm not sure if it goes under old business or where, but we can address it. Officer Stenaitis, I think it's his job back.
We can talk about that before we adjourn.
Okay.
If that's okay, Matt. Nothing under correspondence. We have 3 letters of appreciation. one for officers Carlos Carmo and Sandra Quinones, one for Officer Bernard Webb, and one from Officer Allison Abreski, showing some good work by those members of the department. Next item is widow's pension. We have 3 requests, one from Sandra A. Kelly, one from Miriam Lanos. They're both under Plan A. And the last is Mrs. Elva Santana for Plan B. All 3 are to receive their pension, or to be effective immediately. Lieutenant, everything's in order?
Yes, it is. Everything is in order.
Okay. Unless there's any questions, I'll entertain a motion to combine the items underneath widows pensions 8A, B, and C and approve. Hector, you're muted, but.
Second, if he's already moved it.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Could I make a quick comment?
Sure.
It's just, I'd be remiss if I didn't go on record stating the impact that both Officer Llanos and Big Lou Santana had on me and my community as a whole. I worked with Donald when with the AIC program. All of us lovingly referred to him as Tano. He always made himself available to anyone who needed, his colleagues as well as his charges. Both of them will be greatly missed. My condolences to the family. I just wanted to make sure I said something. I came up under these guys. I was a kid watching police, some of the first police officers I actually saw were these guys. So I just want to say something. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry for interrupting.
I'm sorry, was there a motion made?
I guess I'm making the motion. He was doing something different, and and thank you, Commissioner Diaz. I knew Tano too. I worked with him in AIC too before I went to law school. So, but I have a motion on the table, and if someone
there's a motion on the floor to combine and approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The motion passes. We have nothing from the city engineer's office, from the traffic engineer this evening. Therefore, the regular meeting, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the regular meeting is adjourned. The board now reconvenes as the trustee of the Police Pension Relief Fund, Plan A and Plan B this evening, in the roll call of officers of A and B. Cumanado?
Yeah.
Diaz?
Here.
Farrow?
Here.
Lyons?
Here.
And Roach is here. We have a quorum. I'll entertain a similar motion as before to combine these items underneath the agenda for the trustees of Plan A and Plan B, combine and approve. Is there a motion to that effect?
Move.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, before we adjourn for the evening, I know Commissioner Cumanado had a question about Stenitis, Officer Stenitis. And I understand, I have heard, not officially, but I understand his termination was overturned on appeal. Is that correct, Lieutenant?
Yes.
You're not a lieutenant anymore, are you? Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody calls you lieutenant. I'm sorry. But have you heard that for certain, Commissioner?
No, I haven't
Lieutenant?
seen it. I haven't seen anything.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
No.
Lieutenant O'Donnell, are you with us?
Yes, I received a notification of the settlement from the state regarding this matter.
And the notification is that Officer Stenitis will be back, has gotten his job back. Is that correct, or?
That is correct.
Okay. Any other questions on that, Matt?
No, just.
Okay. All right. Okay, entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Is there a second? It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Lieutenant.
Yep. Thank you, commissioners. Yeah, I will be in touch.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
We'll
you
see,
again.
we'll see everybody the first Tuesday of next month, if not before, okay?
Excellent.